Hello Flosstube friends, how are you all? Welcome to Flosstube number 21. It is Sunday the 17th of March, so happy St Patrick's Day to those of my lovely Irish friends. I've got a few, and anyone else that is celebrating St Paddy's Day today. My name is Sally and this is my YouTube channel, or my Flosstube channel, about all things predominantly cross stitch. And I am Flossie Sews and Grows on here and on Instagram, so please go and visit me over there as well. Thank you for all your wonderful concern on my last video. I was a bit headachy, and I know I saw some friends last weekend who watched it who said, oh, I could see it in your eyes, you weren't great. I'll give a little bit of a life update later, so for those of you who want to hear, but I'll crack on straight with the stitching because I know that's what really most of you are here to see. So thank you for coming back if you're a returning viewer, despite despite the last slightly pained for me Flosstube. But if you're new, welcome, and thank you for coming along and joining me, and I do hope you'll stick around. So I have been getting on with my stitching. I've managed to stitch every day in March so far. Last Saturday I had a meet up with the Cheshire Stitchers, which was fantastic. It's always lovely to see some of my friends there. It was a quiet meeting last week, so there were quite a few of the ladies who normally attend who were at the Yorkshire retreat. So we were down a little bit in numbers, but it was still lovely to see everybody. My friend Sue, who I walked in, and she straight away went, oh good, you're here now, come and sit down and I want to show you something, and what do you think about this? And that's always great to kind of be able to talk stitching with your friends and catch up and do all things stitching. It was nice to see Lindsay as well, the Cheshire Stitcher. Go and have a watch of her if you haven't seen her on Instagram. And my friend Charlotte, I'll talk a little bit about Charlotte later on. And Jo was there as well. Jo is Stitchy Cat Lady, I think, on Instagram, so nice to see her too, and Chloe and her mum. So yeah, it was a lovely meeting. So stitching, I'm going to start with a finish. So here we go. Here is Winter Snow, and this is from Lisa, who is Lost in Stitches, and I've stitched this on a 40 count mystery fabric, and I've stitched it with the called for DMC, and I absolutely love it. I really wanted to get this one finished because I think I've got this one and another one that are kind of winter stitches, and it's starting to feel quite spring-like. Certainly today I'm actually sat here with the curtains shut because it's so, the sun's shining into me, and I thought it'll wash me out completely, so I haven't got the light on and the curtains are closed, so so feels spring-like. So I wanted to get this winter one finished, so really pleased with that. Called for DMC, 40 count mystery fabric, and who stitched this along with me? So Ruth, Country Gal 854 on Instagram, stitched this as well, and Ruth has finished, and Ruth has mounted hers on an old book, and it looks beautiful. So go and have a look at her Instagram. And also Amy, who is Renewing Stitches on Instagram and on Flosstube, go and have a watch of Amy, and Amy has stitched it on some blue fabric. And I know she likes stitching it when she's listening to me, so I'm hoping she's still able to make a bit of progress. So really pleased with that. That's my only finish since I last spoke to you. But I have had a few starts. Now I only had 2 planned in the first part of March, but I did actually add a third in, so I'll show you that one. And I've managed to stitch on most of my whips actually, which I'll obviously show you. But I've still got quite a few starts for the rest of March, so I'm feeling a little bit pressured, because obviously I'm doing my 50 new starts for 50 this year, because I'm 50 in September, and I'm doing it with my lovely friend Sarah, who is at Sew Me Sarah on Instagram and here on Flosstube, and Sarah is 50 in December, so we're both doing 50 new starts. So check out our hashtag, which is hashtag fun for 50 Sal. And I'm up to what, number 15, I think, was Friday's new start. And it is feeling a little bit hectic, and I have to keep saying to myself, these are just starts. You don't have to finish them. It's just getting some stitches in. But you know, I am making quite a lot of progress, because I am doing quite a lot of smalls, and that I think has been my saving grace, that I'm doing quite a lot of smalls. So my first start for March was this beautiful one, which is Home Sweet Home. It's a Home Sweet Home pin keep, and it's from Scattered Seed Samplers. And I was gifted this for either for my birthday or for Christmas, can't remember which one, by my friend Kate, who is at Crafty Kate's on Instagram, but she's also a fabric dyer, so she's also at Fabrics by Crafty Kate. So she gifted me that chart for either birthday or Christmas, and this is quite a small one. I'm stitching this with my friend Elaine. Elaine's got this chart as well, so we said we'd do it as a stitch along. So that is Ellie Welly Stitcher. Many of you know her, and this is how far I've got so far. So the called for this was Country Vintage Mocha. So I think it could have actually been, oh, 36 count, and I'm pretty sure this is either 36 or 40. I can't quite remember. I think it might be 40, because I think it's out of my I think it's out of my stash of 40 count fabrics that I got. So I think it's actually 40, but it's beautiful, and I am stitching it with the called for threads, so it's absolutely gorgeous. And actually it's quite a good quick one. I think I've spent maybe 3 days so far on it, not that far from finishing it. So I think that's one that will be hopefully finished in March, if not early April, because there's not that much more to do on it. So fabulous one, really enjoying it, and lovely that I'm able to stitch along with Elaine on that one. I stupidly haven't got I've got my lovely trusty ironing board, as I think Charlie, my lovely friend Charlie, had her ironing board next to her when she filmed last week, but I haven't got anything in front of me on this side to put everything on. So I'm picking up from one, and then I'm not quite sure where to put things. So my other new start, my second new start for the month, I started this on Friday, and it's this one. It's Modern Folk Embroidery. It's called 10 Merry Sailors and Their Loyal Dog. Now I started this on Friday because it was Sherry from Just So Sherry. It was her birthday, and she is also a 1974 baby, so she was 50 on Friday. So Sarah and I both decided to stitch this one together and start it on Sherry's birthday in honour of Sherry. Now this was a pattern that we got kitted up at Stitch in London in October last year, so Stitch in London 2023, and it was kitted up with Country Vintage Mocha and a Roxy Floss floss called Great Lakes. And I would say Great Lakes is probably, this is it, it's probably one of my favourite colours. It's a really deep blue, and it's absolutely beautiful. And we were able to choose what count we wanted to stitch this on, and Country Vintage Mocha and Marie from Stitches and Diamonds sourced all the fabrics, so we were all kitted up, and I've made quite a bit of progress. So I started this on Friday, and I stitched Friday a little bit during the day and a little bit in the evening, and then yesterday I managed to get a bit of time in on it. So I have made quite a bit of progress. So happy birthday to Sherry. I hope you have a wonderful 50th year. Sherry hasn't told me quite early on when she said it was my 50th as well, and I said, come and join in Sarah and I with our 50 new starts. She went, no, that's a bit crazy. I think so far for this year, Sherry has had as many, if not more, new starts than either Sarah or I. And I am convinced that by the end of 2024, she will have had 50 new starts. So I think she could have quite easily knocked it out of the park and started this little bit of a challenge with us. So I'm really enjoying this. Now, actually, one thing I just want to say, and just would quite like your advice on, and what you all think. My sailors, as you can see on the chart, the sailors, can you see? Let's get really close. There we go. Can you see? They've got a little square. So they've got a round circle for their face and a little square in the middle. I'm not sure if I like that little square. So what I have done is I've just given them a little, so I've done their faces, and then I've just given them a little one back stitch across, just for a little mouth. What do you think? Do you think I should go in and do a square, or do you think that little kind of, it's almost a smile? And I did think about doing some French knots for their eyes, but I'm not terribly good at French knots. I did try, and they were a little bit bulky. My French, yeah, not very good at them. So I thought just the mouth I think was good. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think I should just leave it with their mouth like that, or do you think I should stitch the square as Jacob has charted? Let me know what you think. So really enjoying that and thrilled to be starting it for Sherry's birthday. So I had one more start, and this was a completely unplanned new start. I had a message from Yasmin, who is at Yasmin Made with Love. Many of you know Yasmin and stitch lots of her charts, and she actually sent me a link or a message about a freebie that Maloka Designs were going to release, and it was a rooster. And she just sent a message and said, I saw this and thought of you. Of course, you all know I love a chicken. I don't love roosters quite as much as I do lady chickens that lay eggs, but I still thought I'll have a look. And so all you had to do was sign up for the Maloka Designs newsletter. And I think you can still possibly do this. Have a look on Instagram. Megan from Maloka Designs has put a post, and you can say that you're interested in signing up for the newsletter. And when the newsletter was sent out, it had this rooster pattern. So I'm just going to pop a picture up here so you can see what Mr. Rooster looked like. And I actually felt that he wasn't too rooster-like. He was still kind of a bit chickeny. And I think there are times, I belong to quite a few chicken lovers, or chicken keepers, people, because we've got our own chickens, people who look after chickens and who care for chickens, groups on Facebook. And so many times you see people comment, is this a rooster or is this a chicken, when they've got, especially when they're younger, because they're not always quite, it's not always quite as obvious. So I looked at this and I thought, well, he's kind of rooster-like, but not overly so. So anyway, I couldn't resist stitching, getting this one, getting the newsletter, and then when the pattern came out, I thought, got to do it. Now here is my progress so far. As you can see, he is a mighty colourful and gorgeous rooster. Now I've seen quite a lot of adverts for Maloka Designs. They do kits, and I know some of my friends have done kits. My friend Chloe does some model stitching for Megan. So I've always been, seen quite a lot of the stitching, and think Megan offers her kits mainly on Ada, and I'm not an Ada stitcher. And as my stitching has developed, I've moved from 32 count linen to 36 and 40 count, and I did think, how will I kind of stitch, how will a stitch on linen, a Maloka Design stitch on linen, be for me? And I just thought, well, this is a perfect time to experiment. Now I think this little chicken is definitely going to be smaller, obviously, because he's on 36 count. And the other thing I like is I stitch one strand of thread over two linen strands. you know what I mean. I stitched 1/2. So I was a little bit concerned that the colour might not quite be as vibrant as it should be for a design like a Maloka design cross stitch, but I think it's turning out fantastically, and I think, you know, why not? Why not give it a go? We have this discussion. So at the Cheshire Stitchers last weekend, there was a table of 5 of us, and we were all talking about the things we love, the things we like stitching, the techniques we like using. There are a couple who like stitching 2/2. Couple, there were lots of, I was the only one out of 5 that didn't like stitching dragons. I felt really quite unusual. But you know, we all commented on how wonderful it was that we all like stitching really different things, and so there's, you know, there's a market for us all out there, because we all love stitching these different things. And you know, I very much said, well, I'm a prim stitcher and I like stitching things that are prim or primitive. And Sue said to me, well, not so much really, because the colours are a bit duller. And I was thinking, it's not that I like the more muted colours of primitive stitching. It's that I like stitching 1 strand over 2, and quite often the things and the styles that lend to that do tend to be more primitive. So, you know, this was a bit of an experiment for me of stitching something really quite colourful, but with just 1 strand of thread. And I think it's turning out brilliantly. I did have most of the call for DMCs, but then I did have to go, and I was having to drop my mum off to get her car serviced, and next door to a Hobbycraft. And I think there were 2 colours, one of them being that really vibrant orange, which I didn't have, so I just managed, and there was one other I didn't have, which I didn't manage to get, but I managed to get the colours, the couple of colours that I didn't have at Hobbycraft. So those are the colours. Now the one colour that I didn't manage to get was this red here, which is Crown, and his kind of little, what do I call this bit here? I can't think. Now I've substituted that. I think I did the thread checker and it came up with 352, and 352 is a little bit pink, and now I've stitched it, I'm looking at it, I think it needs to stand out a bit more. So what I might do is actually frog his crown and his bits here and this little bit, and I might just stitch those in a brighter red, more of a red than a pinky red, and I think that'll just be fantastic. But I love this, and I think it's for my little experiment of, could I stitch a Maloka Designs stitch on 36 count linen? I think is a resounding yes, I can. So there we go with that one. So that was my new starts for March. So only 3, well, 2 planned, and it was 3, but I have still got another 3 coming up. So I'll remind you quickly what those are going to be. So whips, I have been making great progress. So whip number 1 that I've really been trying to get some stitching in on is Moonshine Cabin from Modern Folk Embroidery. I'll have popped a photo here of what it's going to look like, and I think this is one that I did take a photo of before I started on it again this time round, and so you can see the progress I've made since the last time I stitched on it. And here we are so far. So since last time I have managed to finish these 2 side bits and then fill in all of this bit here, and then I've managed to get a bit more of the stitching of that tree done. I know last time I said to you I thought it was out. Well, this one was out of stitch somewhere. I'd gone wrong somewhere here, and I was determined not to frog it. I've still not managed to figure out where I've gone wrong, but I'm just going to leave it. If it's not symmetrical, I don't care. I don't think anyone, once it's finished, is going to go and try and figure out if it is symmetrical or not. So it'll stay. Now I'm stitching this on It's a 32 count linen. It's slate or charcoal, something like that. And I'm stitching it with the called for DMC threads. So very enjoyable, not an easy stitch, but enjoyable, and I'm really hoping that can be finished soon. Another one that I'm really hoping I can finish soon, because again, this is a bit of a wintry one, but I have really enjoyed it, is Go Tell It on the Mountain by Heartstring Samplery. And this is a pattern that I bought at the Jingle Ball just before Christmas. And this is how far I have got so far. So I am so close. So I think since you last saw it, I finished filling in this holly here, and I'd started on the wording. Now, if you can remember, the wording is in, I think this is vanilla custard. That's the called for. But really on this fabric, which is a 40 count even weave, and it's from Coffee Craft Fabric. And I'm stitching this predominantly in the DMC, but there are a couple of, so I think this is Hollyberry, a couple of classic colour works, and the vanilla custard. So that vanilla custard writing at the top, I started there and thought, I don't think that's going to quite work. And actually one of the substitute DMCs I made is this one here. So I had this colour, I can't remember what I substituted it for, but it's 3772, and it's this beautiful kind of chocolatey, it's a chocolatey pink colour, and on this fabric, it just works so well. And I'd been stitching that little bit of the house, the side of the house with it, and I thought, I really like that. I think it looks really nice on this fabric. So I'm going to give it a go to stitch the wording, and I think that looks really, really nice. So that will be finished, and then that G up there will be frogged, and I will do the writing along the top in that colour as well. So really the writing along the top, I need to finish the bottom, and actually I need to frog the bottom, because I've just put hills and everywhere are correct, but just the start of the H and the E there are just out of place slightly, so I just need to take those out and restitch them. Once I finish that writing, the writing on the top, there's just some snowflakes in it, and it's finished. So that's another winter one that will be finished, and hopefully I can get that framed or get it fully finished, ready for next winter. But beautiful. I've really, really enjoyed stitching this one. It's been a beautiful, beautiful stitch. I'm just going to put that one away so I'm not in too much of a disarray when I finish. My next one is one that I started at the back end of last month, and it was a pattern that was gifted to me by my friend Karen. We did a bit of a swap. I had something at Stitch in London that she liked, and she said to me, oh well, I'd love that, and actually I've got a pattern at home that I think you'd really, really love, can I send it to you? And I was like, yes please, because it's Brenda Gervais, Hen and Chicks. And it's one I think that maybe she'd won on a one from a Flosstuber, or one on Instagram from somebody in America, because that's quite a hard one to get over here. So I was thrilled when she said she had it and she'd send it to me. So this is how far I've got so far. Made a little bit of progress since you last saw it. I finished her, I think I finished the apron. Yes, because I think the last time I needed to frog a little bit of the apron. I think I'd got a couple of stitches out, and I've done more of her skirt and started on her tail feathers. So beautiful stitch. This is on a 36 count, and it's fabrics by Crafty Kate, and it's sand dune. So I'd stitched floral etchings at the top, and this was a bit that was left over, and I'm stitching with predominantly the called for DMCs, but there are some fancy floss in there. I think the dress, for example, is Teal Frost, which is a Weeks Dye Works, So where I've got them and where they work, I'm stitching with the called for. So very enjoyable. Really, again, that one, the majority of the stitching on that is that big old dress, and it's not huge. So that one, I think with a couple more sessions, that one wouldn't take that long to finish. So, I'm hoping that and I'm keeping this in, it's a lovely chicken bag that was made by the mum of Lindsay from Warpy Stitches. So a chicken bag for a chicken stitch. So I like to think that one could be finished actually in the not too distant future. Another chicken stitch, it's getting a bit of a recurring theme, isn't it? Is this gorgeous artsy housewife, and this is Coffee and Eggs. And actually haven't done a huge amount on this one at this time round. I think the last time you saw it, I had started coming down on her arm, and I've done her collar and done her other arm and another little bit. Oh, and I think I might have started on this leaf here, but not a huge amount of progress on that one, but a few stitches in it nevertheless. So making progress. So that's all my whips. I haven't worked on, I've got a few others, but I haven't worked on them this time round because it's only 2 weeks since I last saw you. I think when I get my teeth into something, I do tend to like to do a couple of days on it. And I might have 2 or 3 that I'm working on. So I might work on 2 or 3 things in a day, and then do a couple of days of them, and then move on to something different. So, some months I'll be determined to stitch on every single whip if I can, but you don't see an awful lot of progress necessarily then. Other times I want to get quite a lot of progress done, get lots done, get a finish. So sometimes not all of my whips are touched. I think I've had a huge response to showing some of my mum's stitches. So I've got another one today, and kind of quite topical, this one, because it was a birth sampler that was stitched for my daughter, and it's her birthday on Tuesday. So it's a nice time to show it. I have to say I'm absolutely exhausted today because Felicity, my daughter, had 6 friends over. They all arrived yesterday about lunchtime, and we took them to a place near Liverpool. It was called Ninja Warrior, and it's a bit of a they've got inflatables, and then they've got kind of ninja course for you to work across, and a big, the big walls to run up and grab and pull yourself up. And they had a 2-hour session there, and we hardly saw them. They came back a couple of times to the table. Simon and I sat at a table, found the quietest place we possibly could, and I managed to get a few stitches into 10 merry sailors and their loyal dog. So hence I managed to get quite a bit of stitching done on that yesterday. And they kept coming up and saying water, and they're all kind of hot, kind of glow red faces and slightly sweaty, and but having fun. And then we got home, and they had pizza and chips or fries for you guys in the States, and birthday cake, and then played games after dinner. So a lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of Traitors, have been watching Traitors on TV. I know there's an American version, an Australian version, a British version, and Felicity and I really enjoyed watching it. And she had the game, we gifted her the game at Christmas, and so she said, Mum, will you come and tell everybody how to play it? So I sat, and they did their first round, and then I said, oh well, I'm going to go upstairs and do a bit more stitching. No, you join in this time. So I played with them for the second round, and it was really good fun. And I think I then did come upstairs to do a little bit more stitching before I went to bed, and they had a bit of a dance off, and doing some dancing. So it was great. And I think I managed to get to bed about midnight, and I could still hear them downstairs, but they weren't loud enough that it was stopping me from getting to sleep. So I think they said they finally went off to sleep about 1 o'clock. And I woke up this morning at 8:30 and could not hear a thing. But they were all awake apparently, but they were just all still tucked in bed. They were all sleeping in our lounge downstairs. So all their sleeping mats and in their sleeping bags. And yeah, I think they'd all slept well. We're just lying, all kind of having a little bit of a gossip. So yeah, it's been a really mad weekend, but it's been really good fun. So she's in the shower right now, so I've got the door shut because she likes to have music on when she's in the shower. And then my other half is downstairs. So Man United are playing Liverpool today, and his team is Liverpool. So he's sat on the edge of the sofa watching it, and he said, "I'll try not to be too noisy if you're going to film." But so far so good. I can hear Felicity with a hairdryer in the background. But anyway, so this stitch. So here we go. So this is one that was stitched for, now is it focusing, for her birth. Now it's absolutely beautiful, and there's some really lovely speciality stitches in there, and I mean some hard anger, so it's absolutely beautiful. Now again, I don't know who the designer on this is. I think possibility maybe just Nan. So I know my friend Nadine, who is Nads_cross stitch. I think I'm going to put it below because I can't quite remember. It's the one I should have written down. Nadine quite likes stitching just Nan. But I mean, this is 14 years old. So Felicity's 14 on Tuesday. So it's 14 years old. But I'm wondering if Nadine, I might send her a photo of it and say, do you recognise, would you say this is a just Nan? Because other than the mice and the things that just Nan designs, there are quite a lot of slightly more traditional. No, this isn't a traditional sampler, I'd say. It's but with the speciality stitchers and the hard anger, it's quite kind of distinct. So I wonder if anyone knows, let me know. But yeah, I love that. It's absolutely beautiful. So another beautiful stitch that Mum did. What else have I got? Oh, I am going to show you my haul actually. Before I do my plans, I did have a little bit of market haul. First of all though, I had my fabric of the month from Kate, who is Fabrics by Crafty Kate, and this is the February fabric. Quite a really good actually. Let's just double it up and show it without the border, it might be a bit easier. A really good kind of dark neutral. That's, I think, with the sun coming in the window still, that's still coming up a bit light, but it's a kind of greeny brown. Yeah, I think it's looking a bit lighter on the camera, but it's still going to be a really good kind of neutral colour. So no doubt I will have something later in the year that will be stitched on that. So that was my February fabric of the month. Now market, I really debated, really debated, as I have pretty much got my 50 for 50 roughly planned, and I know from doing that list I have got a lot of charts. I've got a lot of charts, so I was really trying to be good with market, really trying to be good. And you know, you can, if there's anything that you really love, quite often you can get it after market, but had to get it. So Frosty Tiny Town, absolutely loved it. So that was my one that I thought, yeah, I'm going to get it. However, something else came up, and this wasn't a market release. It was something that was released, I think it wasn't a Nashville release, sorry. I think it might have been released at Needlepoint Market last year, because this one, With Thy Hands by Teresa Koga. Now this was one that my friend Sally started for her 60th birthday in December, and I really wanted to start it with her, but I couldn't get it in the UK. I haven't yet shopped at 123 Stitch, and I really should, but I do try and support the UK shops predominantly. I couldn't get it in the UK, but when a whole weekend of market, I was watching Trudy Ann Design, so Jeff P. Smith on eBay, watching what they were putting onto their eBay page, and I bought Frosty Tiny Town, and then I saw this come up and I thought, I've got to have it, I've got to have it. And Sally, yes, I am going to start it. I'm debating at the moment adding it into April, but I've got another big start in April, so if I don't add it into April, I might add it into May, because I really do want to start it. So Elaine Ellie Welly Stitcher is also stitching this with Sally. They've both started in different places and it's just beautiful. Absolutely love it. And I love these two as well. And I'd actually seen Teresa show this on her Flosstube when she'd bought that kind of, is it a coal scuttle, a coal tray? She'd bought it in an antique shop and loved it, absolutely loved it. So couldn't resist getting that one. So that was my other Nashville purchase, although not strictly Nashville. And that's all I've got of my haul, actually. So I have been good. There are other things that I really, really like, but I am just going to wait and see, and just give it a little bit longer, because I have got a busy time coming up. So the rest of March, I've still got Gathering Strawberries, which I'm starting on Tuesday to celebrate Felicity's birthday because it's got the chickens on it. I'm starting Easy Peckings with Stitchy Rach, Easter weekend. I can't remember which day we decided. Either Good Friday or I don't know. Easter weekend. And then Gardener Dreams, I've left it over there. Have I? Gardener Dreams? Or have I got it here? I think it's over there. So Gardener Dreams by Barbara Anna. I've been saying for a few Flosstubes, going to start it, and decided to wait for Sally at Stitchy Sally to finish her Dreaming Girl, and then we'd start it together. And Sally finished this week. So she said, right, we're going to start straight away. And I actually messaged and she said, could we possibly leave it a week, and could we start on, not on Wednesday, the 20th, but the following week, Wednesday the 27th, just because I've got Felicity's I've just started the Modern Folk Embroidery one. I've got starting Felicity's Gathering Strawberries on Tuesday. I didn't want to do another new start on the Wednesday. So we're leaving it a week, give Sally time to kit it up as well, and then we will start Garden Dreams on the 27th of March. So if anyone would like to join in with us on that one, please do. That would be fantastic. So that was the rest of my March plans. And then April. So you know that as part of our 50 for Fun for 50 Sal, Sarah and I will try and tell you the month before, so the middle of the month, like the middle of March now, what we're stitching for the following month. So today I'm going to tell you what I'm going to start in April, probably. And I don't think this will change, actually. I don't think any of this will change, because there's a few reasons. So my first new start, I'm going to try and start quite near the beginning of the month, and I'm going to do Friends Are Flowers, which I'll pop a picture of it up here. This is by it's from Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher, and it's from the Spring 2023 issue, and it's a Lucy Beam, so it's designed by Rebecca Noland. So, and I love this. One of my favourite all-time colours is Gentle Art Cinders, and that's one of the colours that is called for with it. And I'm going to stitch it on a Tom and Lily fabric. This is from the spring range last year, so it's a 32 count even weave, and I just think that'll look absolutely beautiful. So that is I'm going to try and start that quite early in the month, because I may gift it to somebody in May, so I want to try and get a finish on that one. I'm also going to try and do a small, because I've got another big I've got a few big projects, and I need some smalls to kind of keep things going. So I really like this. I bought this on a D-stash last year, and this is the Itch to Stitch by October House Fibre Arts. I thought that's a great little one to stitch, and perhaps have in my kind of stash for exchanges. Maybe if I do an exchange later in the year, if I go to a retreat where I'm doing an exchange, that's one that I could have in my backup to do that with. And then Sarah and I, each month, we do try and stitch something together. So in April, it is going to be Little House Needleworks, and this is called Schoolgirl Lessons. Now, I am visiting Nimble Thimble on Saturday with my mum and her friend Hilary. We're going for a little, my Felicity's doing Duke of Edinburgh, her Duke of Edinburgh bronze. So she's out walking in the mountains, and so I've got a little bit of time to myself. So mum said, oh, Hilary really wants to go to Nimble Thimble, so let's go when Felicity's doing Duke of Edinburgh. So I think what I'm going to do is see if Chris has, I've never stitched in silk. So I'd really like to give silk a go. So I'm going to see if Chris has got a silk that I would like to stitch that with, to give it a go and just do it in one colour as it is in the pattern. So that is my plan for that one. And then my other new start, so this is a bit of a biggie. Hence, I think I needed a couple of smalls. So I mentioned this on, I don't think it was my last Flosstube. I think it was the one before, because I know a few of you have said, and I've just suddenly realised I meant to write down all the prompts for these new starts for April, and it's completely flown out of my mind. So I will do the prompts that you lovely people have suggested to Sarah and I. It's on the computer, which is closed. I'll tell you those as I do the new starts. I'll tell you what the prompts are then. I'm so sorry, I've completely forgotten that. How terrible of me. Just suddenly hit me, I haven't done it. So I think not my last Flosstube, but the Flosstube before. A few people had said to Sarah and I, would really like to know some of the stitches that you're doing later in the year, so that we can join in. And one of those, so it was Spring Quaker by Lila Studio that I said I'm going to start this year, and I'm going to start it in April. And the reason I'm starting it is because it's my friend Alex's birthday on the 13th of April, so that will be my start date, and Alex is going to stitch it with me as well. Alex is at Stitch Alex Ong, if you'd like to go and visit her on Instagram. And we are going to have a hashtag for this of hashtag Spring Quaker Birthday Sal, because we're starting it for her birthday, but it is also part of my Fun for 50 as well. So it is definitely a birthday sal for both of us. Now, I know quite a few people have already said that they're going to join us, which is absolutely fantastic. And I had a really good chat with my friend Charlotte at the Cheshire Stitchers last Saturday, because Charlotte has said that she'd like to join in. So we had a few conversations over on Saturday, and then she sent me a couple of pictures during the week about colours, about what she was thinking. So Alex, have a look on Alex's Instagram, because Alex is actually doing this in greens. And I know a lot of you had said to me, had messaged me and said, had I seen Laura, who is stitching by the shore, had I seen her version of Spring Quaker, because she's doing a beautiful green thread. And I hadn't watched Laura before, but I know Amy from Renewing Stitches had mentioned her a few times. I thought, well, I've got to go and watch her, and really enjoyed watching her. And she's got a lot of floss tubes, and I'm trying to kind of go back and watch a few as well. But absolutely fantastic stitching, and she does she's got a fabulous green, where the Quakers are green, because I think, this is a beautiful stitch, but I think, certainly it's the browns of the Quakers for me that I'm not as keen on, because I'm not a fan of brown, and a lot of people have said they would like to make it a bit more spring-like by changing those colours. So Alex is doing it on a green fabric with green threads, and I'd spoken to you about how my friend Kim on Instagram, who is at Woolly Kim, had done hers on a blue fabric. It was absolutely beautiful. So that led me to getting a fat quarter of Bluetiful from Kate, and that's what I decided I was going to do it on. But I just have been having these debates about what colour I was going to stitch my Quakers in, and I had bought some old purple paint, which is a kind of purpley purpley colour, and I thought, well, I really must stitch it. I really must do a couple of strands on the fabric to see if it works. Then Charlotte sent me this picture and said, doesn't this look amazing? I was like, oh yes it does. And it was shared by Craft Centre Stitchery, and I think it was a lady called Luann had stitched it, and I think they'd framed it for her. And I just thought, oh, it's beautiful with the blues. And the blues that she has used are 930 and 931. And I thought, well, that's gorgeous. They look really good. But how would they look on my blue fabric? So I thought, well, I'm going to do a little test stitch. So let me roll a bit closer. So I did my little test stitches on Beautiful. And you can see at the top there is the purple, all purple paint. And then here we have got 930 and 931, or the other way around, I'm not sure. And I thought, well, I like them. And then actually at the bottom I had used, so I've got a blue, it's called, is it, you've seen it before, I've stitched with it a few times. It's the Cottage Garden threads, and it's the labelle, and it's the blue. And I thought, well, that will look lovely as well, but it's variegated and there's quite a lot of lighter blue on it. So that was, I took a bit of the lightest colour and stitched that just to see how it would look, and thought, no, it's too light, I don't think it will do it justice. So, and then I thought 930 and 931, they just weren't quite bright enough. So I went through my beautiful stash behind me of all my colours and picked out another two blues. And these were the two that I picked out. So 334 and 336. So the 334 is the lighter one at the top and 336 is below it. And I just think they look great on this fabric. And the other thing that does look great on this fabric is the old purple paint. So what I have decided to do is stitch the letters in the old purple paint, and I'm going to stitch the Quakers in those two blues. And I think there where I've got other blues, maybe these blues, maybe do a darker aqua, and I'm going to go totally rogue on this. I'm just going to pick the colours look best. I'll perhaps have a look at what the call for DMC is, and if I like it, I'll use it. If not, I'll choose something else. But of course that is stitched on a creamy coloured fabric and I'm doing it on blue. So I need to make sure I've got colours that look better. So I think now that I have done this little test and I've done this little experiment, because when Alex and I first spoke about this, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I don't know if I can do it. I'm not sure if I can do it. But when I've actually done this little test and I've picked my colours, I can't wait now. Really, really can't wait. So really excited about starting that. So 13th of April, if you'd like to join us. And actually another lady messaged me. So Marianne had also messaged me because she'd seen that we're doing it and she'd like to join us. And I talked to her, I sent her some photos about what I was doing and some of the colour options, and she did say to me, had I seen on Lila's Studio website that there are some corrections. So anyone who's joining us, go and have a look at Lila's Studio website corrections page, because there are some corrections for this chart that you need to have a look at. I haven't, you can download the pages, I think, that the corrections are on. So I haven't done it yet, but there are some corrections for that one. So I've really, really enjoyed experimenting on that one, and I feel really good now about starting that one. So really looking forward to Alex's birthday and April the 13th to start that one. So that's all my stitching. It's been great. It's been a good 2 weeks as far as stitching are concerned. Yeah, last time I spoke to you, I had that horrendous headache, and I have had a couple more since. So and it's, you know, it's it's a really common symptom of the medication that I'm taking. I think, you know, 49-year-old, nearly 50-year-old lady, you know, I'm sure there's quite a few of you who've gone through kind of perimenopause and menopause and know some of the problems that I'm probably having at the moment. Lots of my friends around me, you know, it's a tricky point in your life of navigating these things. And so it's a really common symptom of the medication that I'm taking to try and help alleviate some of the issues that I'm having. But yeah, and I wanted to film on Friday because I try and Friday's my day off from work, and I think if I can film every other Friday, keeps me in a regular kind of routine. And I woke up on Friday morning. Simon bought me some breakfast. I just said, I can't eat it. I just feel awful. And I went back to sleep and I slept till 11. Thank God it was a day off. Thank God it was a day off. And yeah, I just felt pretty rubbish. So I didn't film. And, yeah, my mum had a good chat to me about it and said, maybe this isn't right. Just said, well, no, the doctor said it might be, it might not be. I've got to give it 3 months. And so just got to see. But you know, it's definitely affected my mood. I'm naturally quite a gregarious, happy. And when I took mum to get her car serviced on Tuesday, she just said, "You're not. What's up with you?" And it just, yeah, just just didn't feel myself. So, but I've got to give it a go just to see if long term it will give me kind of some relief of other issues that I'm having. So, you know, so I'm still getting headaches, which aren't great. Just hope that they'll calm down. It'll make everything better. But you know, I can still stitch. I couldn't have done on this Friday, but you know, I can when I'm not feeling great. Stitching is a great solace. If my head's not hurting, I can watch Flosstube as well, even better. But if my head's sore, I can sit quietly and cross stitch. I'm surprised. I thought, you know, headache with my eyes, I wouldn't be able to, but I can, and that just it's peaceful, and yeah, it makes me feel good, makes me feel positive. So that's really important. You know, and work is busy, and I've been lucky that I've kind of managed my head around work. And I know quite a few people have messaged me since. So my lovely friend Charlie, Charlie, who is Stitches with Charlie Feathers, Charlie is almost 1,000 subscribers on Flosstube. She put out a video, was it maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? No, maybe Thursday maybe. A really good video with a wick parade, and she started filming. So it's great. I mean, I like it when I can see people's faces and they talk, and I love that. But she did some of that, but she also showed us some of her stitching from a camera above, and you can see the stitching so beautifully. And she's done it on a beautiful bit of English paper piece quilting that she's been doing. So it's just beautiful. So Charlie, you know, is wonderful stitcher. So please, if you haven't watched her before, go over and have a watch of her Flosstube and subscribe, because I think she's got about 40 subscribers left to get to 1,000. And you know, it's such a kind of milestone and achievement for us when we get to that 1,000. It's really exciting. So you know, really please. But anyway, Charlie actually mentioned that she started working with me. So it was a conversation we had at Stitch in London, that one of my co-workers was moving on and there was a vacancy, and 2 and 2 became added up to 5 actually, because it wasn't quite the co-worker then decided not to leave, but you know, the company I work for liked Charlie so much that they were able to offer her some work. So she now works with me, but we both work remotely. So we both work from home. So although I'm in North Wales and Charlie is at the other end of the country in Cornwall, we do work together for a team. It's kind of spread out across the UK. But it's lovely. You know, even though we don't necessarily get to talk to each other every day, we're not in an office together, but we do you know, we know the other one's there, and we do occasionally need to have a work chat, so we can have a little bit of a catch up during work time. But not to talk about stitching, obviously, just work. So you know, it's really lovely to have Charlie on board. So she's turned into a lovely friend, considering I only met her properly in real life in October. You know, it's great, and I'm seeing her next month. We've got a team meeting, so we'll be actually catching up in person, which is really wonderful. And you know, it's lovely. I got the job with the company as a recommendation from a friend that I went to school with, Helen, who is, so I've known Helen for you know, nearly 40 years, and actually Charlie works directly for Helen, and Helen's so lovely, and you know, it's all worked out really well. So for those who've messaged and said, oh, where do you work then, you know, we both work remotely, but for the same company, so it's really lovely. Yeah, so you know, work is good. I'm lucky that, you know, I don't have to go to work. I don't have to leave the house and go to work. I cross from my stitching quite often. If I'm before work, I'll try and get in 10 minutes of stitching, so I go from my stitching desk here across the corridor to the other spare room, which is my office. And you know, it's quiet. I don't work in a noisy office, and you know, I'm not on the phone really very much. It's predominantly computer work. So if I have got a headache, 9 times out of 10 I can cope with it. I can just work quietly, and if I'm quiet, I'm fine with my headache. So it's not too bad. So it's manageable. I think that there's definitely days where if I actually had to physically go out to work, drive to an office and work somewhere, I struggle. I'd probably have days where I'd really struggle and wouldn't necessarily be able to get there, because I can't always drive when I've got a headache. So yeah, so it's good. It's good. So we'll just see how I go with this medication. If in 3 months it's like, yeah, I'm still getting the constant headaches and it's not alleviating any other problems, I'll be stopping it. If it doesn't get better, I can't carry on with that. So but we'll see what the doctor says. So yeah, so it's a busy time. We're out for dinner for Felicity's birthday on Tuesday, and then obviously she's got Duke of Edinburgh next weekend, so that's a busy time getting her prepped for it. But it's, you know, it's all great fun. She's doing brilliantly. You know, she's really enthusiastic and outgoing. She's had, you know, her friends who were here last night are just so lovely. Such a lovely group of girls that, you know, they all bounce off each other. They're all lovely. So you know, though it was noisy and there were a few squeals and screams here and there, you know, it was good natured fun. So it's going to be a lovely week celebrating her birthday this week, and then, you know, spring's come. It always, I know, just before the weekend before she was born, I'd had a few days in hospital and then came home. I lived down south, so I lived in London at the time, so it was slightly warmer, but I can remember sitting out. So my mum had come for the weekend to let Felicity's dad carry on working. He was a policeman, so he was, you know, he was working all the hours God sends, so that when she was born, he could then have time off afterwards. And so mum came to kind of look after me when I came out of hospital before I went back in 2 days later. But it was, I can remember it just being a beautiful spring day, and mum went to the garden centre and bought loads of plants, and I just sat in the sun with this big baby belly, and mum planted lots of primulas and pansies and things like that in the garden and all my pots, so that you know, they're beautiful. And this definitely around this time in March, spring is in the air and it starts to get warmer, and the clocks change soon here in the UK, so the light changes, and it's just, yeah, it's just a great time of year, that kind of re-emerging from the winter. And it was exciting this morning actually, because Simon he's been sowing the seeds this year. It's normally me that sows all the seeds for the allotment, and Simon said about 2 weeks ago, he said, I'm going to do some seeds. I was like, great. So he did a load of tomatoes and he did some flowers. I never do flowers, but he does do the flowers. But he did 4 little trays, and we've got them on our bedroom window, and I opened them up this morning and oh, we've got seedlings. So we've got 3 trays of tomatoes and one of lobelia, I think, and we had little seedlings in all of them, so you know, little green heads starting to poke up. So it's wonderful. So spring is on the way, which is fantastic. It just makes everything feel brighter and better, and yeah. So that's me for today. It's been great talking to you. It's been great talking to you, feeling a bit more alive than I did last time. Really hope that you've enjoyed listening. Really hope you can give me a little like, and if you haven't already subscribed, if you could subscribe, that would be amazing. It'd be lovely. It'd be great to be able to carry you along on the journey to the next Flosstube. So if you subscribe, obviously you'll get a little notification that I have posted a new video. So happy stitching, everybody. I hope certainly those of us in the Northern Hemisphere who are starting to get slightly nicer weather and a bit more sunshine, I hope that you can all enjoy some stitching in some natural light. And yeah, all I'm left to say is happy stitching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.